We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Do not forget to ring the notification bell to get yourself notified because we can come on live at any time. Right now is a very good example. On this Sunday morning, or for some of you it's almost noon. For us in the Central Time Zone, it is 10:27. Mountain West 9:27. Pacific Coast 8:27. If you want to support this independent national college football's rebel outpost with a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel, just hit that $ where you make your comments, and I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Everybody, come on in. Welcome on in into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Read an article this morning. We're going to be going through some of it. It was a large, big time article by Brian Murphy, once again from WRAL. Jim Phillips is letting it be known to anybody who wants to listen. This is our last hope. This is our last hope. Now he calls it, Jim Phillips calls it our last hope to stabilize college sports. If we do not get this passed, what Jim Phillips is saying, and we're going to go through the article, we are going to go through what he actually said. You don't have to, you can distrust whatever I'm reporting here that he's saying. But Jim Phillips is saying, if we do not get this passed, we will be entering that ecosystem if we can't get something done. A much more disrupted college sports could be. I don't know how much more it could be. I don't know what's going to happen, but we would enter that ecosystem. We would enter that ecosystem. It's not a question anymore for Jim Phillips that we might someday, possibly. We are at risk. No, we will. We will enter that new ecosystem. We will enter into this era of the breakaway. Jim Phillips puts out a clarion call, and we're going to go through that article this morning. Today is the World Cup day. I'm going to be busy the rest of the day watching the World Cup, getting ready for the World Cup, celebrating Spain's victory over Argentina, watching the little general cry while I celebrate. Spain 3, Argentina 1. That is your Greg the Gold. Book it. It's going to be part of our Greg the Gold celebration. The little general has just entered. She's not happy. She's just entered the studio. Okay. All right. She just slammed the door. Everybody relax. We're okay. Everybody relax. It's going to be part of our show tomorrow on our Monday live show. We're going to have a Greg the Gold celebration. Spain 3, Argentina 1. It's just going to give you a little glimpse of what is going to be happening a lot in 2026. There's going to be a lot of Greg the Gold. I'm going to be wearing the gold. I'm going to be celebrating my picks against the spread. And a lot of you are going to be upset. Very, very, very upset about what happens during this college football. Yeah, Jonathan, yep, he gets it. Jonathan gets it. Anderson, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Preston from Greensboro, she should be thrilled you picked Spain if she's rooting for Argentina. Look, if you are married for 24 years, there's nobody that knows you better than your wife. She knows that this year is the year of Greg the Gold. No more losing. No more losing. I'm not going to be the re-elected mayor of Louisville City. No more. Preston from Greensboro. So she's upset that I picked Spain over Argentina. And we'll celebrate that tomorrow. Anyways, so we got a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about how PCSA, the revised bill. I'm asking you all, is it going to be enough? Is that revised bill going to be enough to get the support of the SEC and the Big Ten? Because according to Ross Dellinger's reporting late this week, And that matches all the chatter that is going on. If the bill does not pass with what the SEC and the Big Ten wants in that bill, if it's not enough, if the bill does not pass or it passes without the support of the Big Ten and the SEC, the Southeastern Conference is prepared. It's prepared for their plan B, which is to go silo. And how severe that silo is going to be, if I had to put my chips in the middle of the table, 90% speculation, of course, I would guess it would not be a full throttle silo to begin with. But I could be wrong. I can understand the logic behind, if we're going to make our own rules, if we're going to enforce our own rules, and we don't trust anybody else, we're only going to play amongst each other. Wow. If that happens, buckle up. We're going to be, we are going to be awfully busy here at Peek Around the Corner. The ramifications of all that is no less than earth-shattering, because then the Big Ten has to make that decision. The Big 12, it's an unending story at that point. So I'm asking you all, at the beginning of this live show, I'm putting up a poll. Will revise PSCA, I'm sorry, that should have been PCSA, but you guys know what I'm talking about, be enough to garner SEC and Big Ten support of the bill? Will it be enough? David Kreitzer, if the Big Ten and the SEC move away from the NCAA, so will the Big 12 and the ACC. You could be absolutely correct, Mr. Kreitzer. You could be absolutely 100% correct. Right now, it's a landslide. There's not a whole lot of faith in the PATC family that this revised PCSA, I got it wrong on the poll, but I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's a landslide. 82% believe no. About 17%. Mohr Simmons says this is going down. Tasbo says greed controls both conferences. What does revised mean? There's going to be a revision in the bill. Whatever that revision is, they've only got one shot at this. Time is running out. There's only going to be one more shot to revise this bill, and it's got to get out here. You can't wait. This has got to get out next week. Because again, if nothing passes, according to the reports, the Southeastern Conference goes to the Plan B. They're prepared to go to Plan B. So it's not just, oh, this bill's no good, and thank goodness it did not pass. That's not good enough. A revised bill that garners support from the Big Ten and the SEC, a revised bill that garners the support of the SEC and the Big Ten, that passes, that's the only avenue that we stop the SEC from going to Plan B. We are at that point. Not only that, but we got to get the revised bill out right now. We are up against it. And once we go through this article that came out this morning, you read what Jim Phillips says. Now, let's not get it twisted. If this bill doesn't pass without the support of the Big Ten and the SEC, it's going to impact everybody and everything. Regardless if the Southeastern Conference is the cautious approach or the extreme approach on the silo. But the first and the most impacted conference is going to be the ACC. The eye of the hurricane is going to land just south of the ACC, so they're going to get impacted the most. They're going to get hit the hardest by the winds of the hurricane. Jim Phillips' words today in a newly published article, WRAL. And there's another, I'm going to stop the poll here. I think we've got enough votes. 82 to 18. So more than 80% of the PATC family believes this is not going to pass. It's not going to get the support of the Big Ten and SEC. And if it ain't going to get the support of the Big Ten and the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, and then most likely the Big Ten, are going to go to Plan B. Also, which has become pretty clear when we go through this article, the state of North Carolina, the political leaders, the institutions, you know what, let me back up. As Peek Around the Corner reported about 6 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, I looked straight into the camera. And this was backed up by what the Florida State Money Perch, the information that he gave us to. There has been no other time let me figure out how I'm going to say this. Politically in the state of North Carolina, this is the most powerful position that North Carolina State has been in. We reported that. Florida State people think that. Now, we're not saying that North Carolina State, if there's going to be realignment, that they're going to have to get picked up by the Big Ten and the SEC for North Carolina to jump to the Power 2. But North Carolina State has so much leverage. Why is that? Well, the Board of Governors, there's a lot of political leanings when it comes to the North Carolina State Wolfpack. There's a lot of people in North Carolina. We talked about it. There's a slice in North Carolina, Chapel Hill, a very healthy slice. A very healthy slice that wants to remain where they are, the ACC. They are the driver of the ACC. They're the captain of the ship. They go to the Southeastern Conference, they're not the captain. They go to the Big Ten, they're not the captain. There's just a school, a very good school, a proud school, a big brand school, an incredible research school, in a large and growing state, great demographics. But they're not the leader of those conferences. North Carolina, there's a big healthy slice in Chapel Hill that wants to remain as is. And you can see it in this article. There's a lot of support for this PCSA in the state of North Carolina. They want it passed. Now, of course, there's some in Chapel Hill that don't want this passed. There's people in Chapel Hill. There has been talks between a different slice of North Carolina with the Big Ten and the SEC. And most recently, we have come to learn that there have been talks with North Carolina, Chapel Hill in the Southeastern Conference, somewhere a little bit north of Birmingham. Now, I don't know if any of you have read the article today. Go to Texas 247, Chip Brown. He goes through the history. It was an article today, very fascinating article. Talked about what really went down when Texas and Oklahoma joined the Southeastern Conference. It really got going when Oklahoma's athletic director and JC and Texas athletic director Del Conte, when they got in the car together, they met in Dallas. Then they both took the car, and it was Del Conte's wife's car, I believe. A white van, possibly. And they made the 9-hour car ride from Dallas to Birmingham. That was in an article today. They didn't want anybody to see them. They didn't want anybody to track them. This was completely cloak and dagger. And they met in Birmingham. And we got word that this happened in North Carolina and SEC, a little bit north of Birmingham. So I think maybe history is repeating itself. But let's get back to the story. Let's get back to the story of today. There's a big healthy slice in North Carolina politically that wants to remain ACC. There's a bigger even slice that they do not want their public universities in the state of North Carolina to be harmed. And if the Southeastern Conference is going to go in a silo, if the Big Ten is going to go in its silo, it's just my opinion, but I think the ACC is going to be they're going to be harmed. The Big 12 is going to be harmed. The SEC might turn out to be harmed. The Big Ten might turn out to be harmed. The ACC is going to be harmed. And the SEC is going to be looking to expand. And they're number one on the candidate list is North Carolina. And all I'm saying is North Carolina State, they've never been this politically strong. I don't know if that's going to be enough for them to ensure they get a $10 million alimony, $15 million alimony a year, or potential invite to a P2 conference, whoever would take them in, a Big Ten or the SEC. I have no idea. But politically, they've never been as powerful. We gave you guys that information about 6 weeks ago, and you can see it in this article of this morning. So we are going to go through that article, very fascinating article. As Jim Phillips is saying, last hope. This is the last hope to stabilize college sports. It is the last hope to get congressional help to stave off the breakaway, the silo, this new wave of disruption in college sports. So buckle up and brace for impact. First, we are going to be going through our PATC Heisman watch list week 0. Yes, yesterday we did our hot seat list, as you guys all watched and participated in. We had a great conversation yesterday on a Saturday live show. Fantastic conversation. Some disagreement, but not a whole lot of disagreement on our hot seat rankings. And today we are going to be doing the Heisman watch list. This is going to be a little bit more controversial because we're only going to do 6 names, 1 through 6. There's going to be some incredible college football players left off the Heisman watch list going into week 0. So this is going to be a little bit way more controversial than yesterday's list of the hot seat. Let's go through the roll call real quick. I appreciate everybody dropping on in. We've got Mohr After Dark, Mr. Buckeye. Someday he's going to be calling me Greg the Gold, and that day is coming fast. $5 holla. Greg is so cold that the IRS audits him so their agents can be more heartless. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. I appreciate that. Appreciate your support, Mohr After Dark. I also appreciate the hard fall that is coming your way. Not the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are going to win the national championship because Greg the Gold said so. But your hard fall, because you've been giving me elbows about Greg the Cold, Greg the Cold, Greg the Cold. In 2026, it's all going to be about Greg the Gold. Mohr After Dark. I want everybody to try to help Mohr out during this season because the reality is going to hit him hard, very, very hard, that Greg the Gold is going to dominate the picks against the spread. Thank you so much, Mohr After Dark, for help starting us off today. I appreciate it. We got the LSU Tiger, Ryan Brooks. We got a Buckeye Outlaw Skis. We got that Cornhusker, Hello Golden Rodent. We got David Kreitzer, JDB, 0714 Tumasta. DCB's in the house. Equalizer is in the house. Preston from Greensboro is in the house. We got the Architect. We've got the Architect, Kenneth the Pirate Gator Maynard is in the house. Jonathan Anderson, Jeff Kies, Montana. Let's go, Greg. Messi joins the SEC today. D. Wayne, Minnesota contains youth Smith into the big. I don't know what that means. They're just the one kid, the lucky schools like Rutgers and Maryland already in. They would be left behind in the G6. They weren't just lucky. I see what you're saying. Minnesota contributes nothing. D. Wayne. Hello. Minnesota contributes nothing. Nothing to the conference that they built on day one, they were the ones that put the first nail into the wood that created the Big Ten's Noah's Ark. How could you possibly say they contribute nothing? My goodness, they're the ones that built the conference. D. Wayne, thanks for coming on in. I appreciate it. Joaquin Morales is in the house. Friends call me Sean. Elvin Gully is here. Breakaway, even if the bill fails. Yes, because they need something passed. It's like the only way out, if the bill passes with Big Ten and SEC support. If that doesn't happen, we are going most likely in a whole new ecosystem of college sports. As Jim Phillips once again has just warned us. Buckeye Greg is in the house. Seminole Win. Morris Simmons is here. Corey 34 is here. BG. The Oklahoma State Cowboy. Buy low, sell high. Jay Chapman. Who else came on in? Amy is in the house. Go Utes. Cal Bears is here. Rod Nix is here. Troy is here. KST is here. Smile Time. Thanks for coming on in. Thanks for coming on in. We've got Elvin Gully. We've got a super chat. $2 holla. Very much appreciate it. If North Carolina politics is that bad, go get Arizona State in Arizona. I still think the SEC would rather have North Carolina and North Carolina State over Arizona State and Arizona. And I know I'm not trying to take a shot. I think they'd rather have the state of North Carolina. I mean, it's right in their region. But it increases their footprint. Fast-growing state, the big brand of North. I think they would still take North Carolina and North Carolina State. Thank you, Al. And I'm not saying they're willing to do that, but I think it would still be rated ahead of Arizona State, Arizona, and those two schools are very good schools, but I don't think, I think SEC would definitely choose North Carolina State because it's continuous to their region and other reasons for that. Evan, but I appreciate the $2 holler. Thank you, Elvin Gully. Thank you so very, very much. We got Illini Ted is in the house. Then we got the architect is here. Who else do we got? Who else do we got in the house? I'm sure Rock and Rant is here. Jim Phillips thinks PCSA is Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he doesn't like the princess. But he doesn't look like Princess Leia. All right, let's get to it. We've got a lot to talk about. We're gonna go through the Heisman watch list, and then we're gonna go into this newly published article this morning out of the great state of North Carolina. And what does Jim Phillips has to say? I think he says a lot, and we're only gonna go through like 30% of the article, and it was still a lot. It's a huge article. Go check it out. WRAL, Mr. Murphy, excuse me. Larry Andrick, $5 holler super chat. Mr. Mountaineer is in the house. Do not forget my Mountaineers, or you will be Greg the Cold again. Larry, he's all optimistic, just like Ryan Willie. It's the optimistic part of the season as we head in toward August. All right, okay, Larry. All right, I'm rooting for you, my man, because if West Virginia, if the Mountaineers outperform what the consensus says out there, Larry Andrick might just run away and win the I Do Declare College Football World Championship, because Larry Andrick has got all his chips on West Virginia. So it's going to be very fun to watch. Thank you, Larry Andrick. Thank you for the $5 holler. I'm not going to forget about your Mountaineers, sir. I'm not going to forget about Cam Cook. I think he's going to have a big time, outstanding season. The great running back transfer from Jacksonville State. Scotty Fox, Hawkins, I don't know. I don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback. Probably Michael Hawkins to begin the season. We shall see, Larry. I appreciate you coming on in. Okay, let's get into it. For those who I missed, I apologize, Doug Steinhauser. I appreciate everybody coming on in. Let's get to the Heisman watch list, and then we're going to go to the WRAL article came out early this morning. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is the Heisman watch list going into week 0. And it's probably not going to change at all. It won't change at all. And it will be the same list going into week 1. I've got Trinidad Chambliss at number 1. Now, Chambliss is not my prediction to be the Heisman winner. This is not my predicted finish. This is how I believe they should be ranked going into week 0. Now, we've got Jeremiah Smith 6, Darren Mensah 5, Dante Moore 4, Arch Manning 3, Julian Sain 2, Trinidad Chambliss number 1. We've got incredible football players that are not on the list. We've got C.J. Carr. We've got Malachi Tony. I mean, there are superstars that are not quite on this list yet. But they'll probably be joining the list. My prediction to win the Heisman for this year is Julian Sain, the quarterback of Ohio State Buckeyes. That is my ultimate prediction. But I don't have him at number 1. I've got Chambliss at number 1. The reason why I don't have Chambliss winning the Heisman, because I don't think Ole Miss is going to quite be I got them making the playoffs. I got them squeezing into the playoffs. I got them as the 4th team in the playoffs in the SEC. But I got Buckeyes winning the whole thing, and I think Julian Sain is narrowly going to defeat Chambliss in Manning with the votes. Having said that, I think Chambliss should be number 1. As great as Julian Sain was, as great as Dante Moore was, as great as Darren Mensah did for Duke to get him to be the ACC champ, and Jeremiah Smith is the best football player in the country, and Arch Manning came on strong at the end of the year. Chambliss was just a special dude. I'm going to give him his flowers. I'm going to have his name as number 1 to begin the season. Number 1. Do I think he's going to fall from number 1 eventually? Yes, I do. I happen to think that Julian Sain is going to be the Heisman winner. What he did last year, first full year as a starter, was unbelievable. And I know he's got all that talent. And he made it work. He did not fall. His accuracy is phenomenal. I think they're going to have him run just a little bit. I think he's going to improve his pocket mobility. I think he's going to be able to avoid the one-man rush. I think he's going to be better. Better than even last year. And that should be good enough for saying, I'm just saying, Julian Sain is going to win the Heisman. But he's number 2. Number 2 going into week 0. Arch Manning, I had Manning as number 1 on my Heisman list going into week 0 last year. I was riding the train. I was riding the hype train. I was the conductor. I hopped off that train about week 4. But Arch Manning, he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback this year. They've got the weapons in Texas this year. No question about it. Cam Coleman, they're going to have an incredible running game. They are. Malik Brown from Arizona State, Hollywood Smothers from North Carolina State. Arch Manning is going to be right there with Julian Sain. And I got the Buckeyes and the Longhorns playing in the national championship. And I think Texas is going to beat the Buckeyes at the beginning of the season. But I think the Buckeyes are going to get the Longhorns at the end of the season. Julian Sain and Manning are going to be right there, 2-3, 1-2, 1-3, 2-4, and at the end is going to be Sain number 1 and Manning number 2. Dante Mohr could win this whole thing. They got all the weapons. They've got an incredible running game. Their wide receivers are going to be better than they were last year because they were freshmen last year. Dante Mohr is going to light it up. Darren Mensah is going to be absolutely phenomenal. He could end up being number 1. He could end up being number 2. Darren Mensah could be your Heisman winner. So could C.J. Carr, Notre Dame. I think he's going to get on this list very early. I think Notre Dame is probably going to roll over the Badgers. And C.J. Carr is going to be probably on this list going into week 2 maybe. Jeremiah Smith, it's very difficult for a wide receiver to win this Heisman with all these great quarterbacks. Excuse me. With all these great quarterbacks. Malachi Toney. We have dubbed him Spider-Man. Until he goes to the NFL, he is the Spider-Man of college football. Bear Bachmeier, who we have named at Peek Around the Corner Superman of college football. I think Bear Bachmeier can get on this list. Especially BYU defeats Notre Dame. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. I've given you my reasons why, 1 through 6. There's a couple of names that could have been on this list. They just missed it for now. Let me know what you think. Let me know. What am I missing? Am I missing Sam Levitt? Am I missing Sam Levitt? He's not on this list. Coming off an injury. He could get on this list. No question about it. All right, let me know. Let me know what I got wrong. Remember, WRAL is almost as big as ABC as the news and distributor. We are going to go into it right now. A major published article this morning. We got to talk about it. We have to talk about it before we slip into the next week. I think there's a lot of really good information in this article. We've got OBD Don, massive super chat. Holy smokes. Was listening to the Gopher Gazette pod this morning. funny, the Big Ten is pretty divided on everything. They couldn't agree on college football 16 or 24, or which of the two of Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina, on who will the Big Ten should take, like the show though. On the Gopher Gazette pod, and that is a new name. It used to be Gopher Illustrated, and now it's Gopher Gazette, and is run by the great Ryan Burns. Ryan Burns is he's absolutely elite. And he gave me all the opportunity. He gave me opportunities to break multiple stories on Minnesota 247. At that time, it was Gopher Illustrated. So he does an incredible job. Absolutely fantastic. He owns that site along with CBS 247. Yeah, I watched some of it. I did not watch the whole thing. I had to do something when I was listening to it. And again, and those are the top, in my, not just speculation, but reporting. Notre Dame is the number one target, of course, but North Carolina's right there, and Miami's right there with the other two. And this is the chatter behind the curtain. It's a heavy chatter. Now, I'm not sure what Ryan Burns' opinion on 16 or 24. He knows that I want 24, but I don't really know what his opinion on it is. Now, go check out a Gopher Gazette. Ryan Burns always has a couple of guests. He had Dan Owens on. I think that's the one you listen to. But he's got some other ones on there. But mostly it's Gopher Talk. Mostly it's Golden Gopher Talk. So if you want to listen to Golden Gopher Talk, that is the place you want to go to. Thank you, OPD Don. Thank you for the $20 holler. Thank you for your incredible generosity this morning. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. They asked him if he was related to Peter Burns. No, he's not. But he's got a cousin. His cousin, Ryan Burns' cousin, is, I don't know if he is the head of Dinky Town's athletics, but I think he might be. If he's not the head of it, he's the second guy in command, which was the collective for the University of Minnesota Athletics. Now it's been incorporated into the athletic department. And so I forget his name, but Ryan Burns' cousin is the guy who is running that, or second, whatever. And Dinky Town's athletics is starting to get a lot of corporate help. But that's as far as I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to let other people report on Golden Gopher NIL stuff. Or keep it a secret, whatever they want to do. All right. Jeremy Hecklinski is going to light up the scoreboards. Isaac Brown of Louisville. Yes. Stay healthy, Isaac Brown. Absolutely. Rod Nix, I agree with you on that. Holy smokes. Mensah is the best quarterback here. Yeah. I fell in love with them when Tulane went toe-to-toe with Kansas State. Mensah was an animal that game. Absolute animal. Then what he did with Duke was unbelievable. What he's going to do at Miami is going to be incredible. All right, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the article. WRAL, thank you, Mohr After Dark, Elvon Gully, Larry Andrick, OPD Dunn. I appreciate it. After we go through the article, we're going to go to your phone calls, your super chats, your comments in that order. Or super chats first, but phone calls and your comments in that order. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. You can talk about what we've talked about in the previous week. You can talk about what we think we're going to talk about in the following coming up week, which could be historical. Or you can talk about the 80 different spotlights that we put on the teams during the off season. Whatever you want to talk about in a phone call and a super chat, you talk about it. The floor is absolutely yours. But first, PCSA revised bill. Which will it be? Thumbs up or thumbs down from the perspective of the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten? This, ladies and gentlemen, is our last hope. Our last hope. Federal bill hopes to stabilize college sports if it can survive the opposition, which is the Big Ten and the SEC. And there's other opposition to it as well. The Bipartisan Protect College Sports Act is making its way to the U.S. Senate. The Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten Conference are trying to sink the effort. Brian Murphy, WRAL News, Charlotte, North Carolina. The Congress is closer than ever to voting legislation that would impose stricter transfer and eligibility limits in college athletics and end the threat of a super league. A proposal that supporters say would deliver more predictability and end the stream of lawsuits to college sports where schools, coaches, and fans are constantly worried about players departing after only 1 year of being on their team. The primary hang-up, opposition from the two richest and most popular athletic conferences, which have member schools in 26 states and dominate college football. The bipartisan Protect the College Sports Act, backed by the Atlantic Coast Conference Commissioner, the chancellors of all 5 of North Carolina's public football, both subdivision teams, including North Carolina State and UNC, and at least one North Carolina U.S. Senator is currently making it through the U.S. Senate. The powerful Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten Conference, which includes 34 teams spread across the nation, have objected to the effort. So have lawmakers representing member states. The bill top sponsors are pushing for a full floor vote, perhaps as soon as this month, the month of July, which is ticking away, while also listening to objections and offering changes to secure more support from the SEC and the Big Ten, who have worked with sponsors on broad changes but remain opposed to the bill. The bill would codify in federal law a recent NCAA ruling limiting college eligibility to 5 seasons from an initial enrollment up to age 24, with limited exceptions, which also has already drawn legal challenges from athletes not eligible for a 5th season. Limit athletes to 1 penalty-free transfer in their career, with certain exceptions, including departure of head coach or graduate study. Cap agent fees at 5%. Allow stricter enforcement of NCAA rules around name, image, and likeness payments, including requiring deals of more than $600 to be disclosed. Provide limited antitrust exemption to the NCAA. Prohibit teams in major conferences from cutting women's and Olympic sports teams. Limit conference realignment among power conferences and prohibit third parties from creating a Super League, require scheduling deals among some historic rivals, allow for pooling of television rights revenue, and create a distribution formula for included revenue, remain neutral on the employee status of athletes, make scholarships non-recoverable based upon performance injury roster management, say that the college football season should end by January 8th. This is our last hope relative to getting some help from Congress. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips said at the league's preseason football media event in Charlotte, I don't know what I could share. What does that look beyond if we're not able to get some help there? Because I don't think anybody wants to go in that direction just yet. Not quite. Not quite, Commissioner Jim Phillips. They're not quite ready to go there just yet. We are truthfully working as hard as we can to make this thing work. And then this is the PATC money shot of the article. I don't know how much more disruptive college sports could be. But we would enter that ecosystem if we can't get something done. So Jim Phillips is not saying we may go there. We may enter that ecosystem. We could enter that ecosystem. It's possible that we would enter that ecosystem of much more disruption. He's saying we would enter that ecosystem of much more disruption. And how big of that disruption, what is it going to exactly look like? Phillips doesn't know. Nobody knows. Uncharted waters. Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, this morning in a published article by Murphy, WRAL. North Carolina Senator Bud backs legislation. Senator Ted Cruz, Texas. Senator Maria Cantwell, Washington, are the original sponsors of the legislation, which now has 3 Republicans, 3 Democratic co-sponsors. It passed the Senate Commerce Committee on a 19-9 vote with Senator Ted Budd, a North Carolina Republican, voting in support. Right now, there needs to establish the rules of the road for college sports, Budd told WRAL in a statement. Congress can stabilize the system by protecting student athletes, preserving fair competition, and maximizing the opportunities created through collegiate athletics. As a supporter of the bipartisan Protect College Sports Act, I am hopeful we can secure the votes needed to protect college athletics at every level in North Carolina. North Carolina is the second most populous state, without a school in the SEC or the Big Ten. Only New York, which the Big Ten tried to claim part of, with nearby Rutgers and New Jersey, has more population in no team in those 2 leagues. The conferences each made more than $1 billion in total revenue in 24-25, the last year for which records are available. They control the SEC and the Big Ten. They control the future of the college football playoff. And outside of football independent Notre Dame, every football playing school in the nation would move mountains for an invite to one of the top conferences. Excuse me. Now, Murphy, WRAL, did not include North Carolina as part of that exception. Outside of football independent Notre Dame, every football playing school in the nation would move mountains. So at the end of the day, he believes that North Carolina would move mountains to get an invite to the SEC. Now, moving the mountains, how much money is that going to go to North Carolina State? Does that include a North Carolina State invite? What exactly would all that mean? Back to the article. Do you take the goodness of it and deal with the rest of it? Or do you do nothing and we're in the same situation in a year? Said North Carolina State Athletic Director Boo Corrigan, who supports the bill. And looking at it, does the good outweigh the bad? Is there enough positive in this that it makes sense to move forward with it? Finally, in the article, the part of the article that we are covering today. It could be now or never for federal legislation. Or as Phillips puts it, our last hope. The Southeastern Conference has indicated it could implement its own rules for conference members if Congress is unable to act. The drastic measure might be better positioned to escape the antitrust scrutiny from the courts because of its smaller footprint than the NCAA. So, Jim Phillips, you can almost hear his voice in this article. You can almost say, this is it. This is our last hope. This is our last hope. I don't know how much more disruptive college sports could be, how much it could get to, but we would enter that ecosystem. We're going to walk right into that ecosystem if we can't get something done. And it sounds like from everybody here, from Phillips to the reporting in the Southeastern Conference, from what I'm hearing from the chatter behind the curtain, having this bill not pass and kicking the can down in next year and seeing if we can get a bill passed next year in the new Congress, it does not seem to be an option. Killing this bill because it doesn't do enough for the Southeastern Conference or the Big Ten from their perspective is not enough. If a bill doesn't get passed, that's no longer enough. Plan B starts to get executed. That seems to be what is happening here. That seems to be what is coming from all the reports and definitely the chatter behind the curtain. And Phillips is saying, I don't know what level all this gets to. In disruption. I don't think anybody knows. I'm not even sure. If I had to guess, I don't even know if I could guess. I don't know if the Southeastern Conference, if they have finally decided on how extreme they want to go into the silo. Because there's different levels to this, as we've talked about. But Ross Dellinger, he slipped it in, didn't he? Ross Dellinger slipped it in. He slided it in on that last article. He did the old, and perhaps, he used the word perhaps. Ross Dellinger said, and perhaps the SEC would only play their own in this new ecosystem that Jim Phillips is talking about. Now, that is disruption. That is massive disruption. And I'm gonna throw this out. I don't know how the Southeastern Conference can even have it as an option. Let me know if you disagree with me. I do not know how the Southeastern Conference can have it as an option. They only play each other. 12 conference games. You put that over here. They're only going to play each other. Yet, they're going to continue with the contract because I don't know what other options they have. Maybe they have another option. Maybe they can sue to get out of the college football LLC. But let's say they only play each other 12 conference games, their own rules, their own enforcement, and yet participate in a playoff in which the teams are going to be picked by the playoff committee when they're playing each other 12 times. How is that going to work with the other conferences? How would that even work? And let's say you expanded it to 24 teams. Let's say the Southeastern Conference is, man, we're going to play each other 12 times. Let's expand this thing to 24 for the next 5 years. Let's agree with the Big Ten. But we have these AQs. Because our records are going to be 8-4, 7-5. We're going to have really good teams at 7-5 according to what we believe. We're just going to be beating up on each other. We could expand this conference. We're going to be beating up on each other. So Big Ten, hey, PTD, Silent Tony, we'll agree with that 2014 playoff, but we gotta have AQs because we don't trust you. We don't trust nobody. We definitely do not trust that college football playoff committee to select SEC teams when we're sitting here with 8-4 and 7-5 records. So Tony Petitti, we want 7 AQs in the 2014 playoffs. Does that sound ridiculous? Probably. But I don't know how the Southeastern Conference goes silo and decides to do the extreme version and then still participate in how the playoff is formatted today at 12 teams or at 24 teams without a huge AQ going to the Southeastern Conference. Just more things I want to throw out there. And then, of course, what do you do with the NCAA basketball tournament? What do you do with the baseball tournament? What do you do with all this stuff? How quickly does the Big Ten follow the SEC in the breakaway? Probably really quick. What about the Big 12? What about the ACC? How quickly do they follow? And then how quickly does the next wave of realignment happen? This is going to be unending. And then the backfields. That's going to affect the American. This is going to be unending. The only way to stop this wave after wave after wave of disruption, and it's going to be this ain't going to be a 1 day story, it ain't going to be a 1 week story, it ain't going to be a 1 month story, it ain't going to be a 1 year story. Wave after wave, the difference in scheduling and the permanent rivals and what about the bowl games and it's going to be the media companies, SEC would probably have to add. The only way to stop this wave after wave after wave after wave of disruption is to have a revised PCSA bill that satisfies the Big Ten and the SEC. That is the only way to stop it. So where are we with that? Where is the revised bill? I have not seen it yet. It's July 19th. And according to the last report in the Ross Gellinger, Maria Cantwell was willing to put parameters around, limitations, I think is probably going to end up being the correct word. Put limitations on the Big Ten SEC sovereignty on what they could do to possibly expand the conference, acquire new members. There's going to be parameters put around that. Not parameters put around Power Four conferences and taking Washington State, but parameters and being put around the SEC taking whoever they want to take. We are so close. We are way beyond DEFCON 1. This was always the end game on DEFCON 1. The nuke button is about to be pressed by Sankey and then followed up by Petiti. If the PCSA revised bill isn't revised in the liking of the SEC and the Big Ten. The ramifications are never ending. And we don't even know if this thing's going to work. And then the player compensation and how they might get representation in these silos. It's a never-ending wave of disruption. Let's get to your phone calls. Bill G, the incredible, inedible. He's edible. Oklahoma State Cowboy who's done so much for this program. He'll never know how much he's done for this program. Bill G, thank you so very much. Incredible kindness. 5 gifted membership to Mayor McCheese, for the Canes, Chris A718, Marquez, Tiggers, and Brennan Griswold. Please, when you get an opportunity, you all just received a gift by the incredible edible Bill G. Say thank you to him in the chat when you get an opportunity. All of you are officially knighted. College football, cloak, and dagger. All of you are knighted officially, cloak and dagger. Go to a library of episodes, watch all the episodes, including early peak cloak and dagger member only episodes. Thank you, Bill G. Thank you so very kind, sir. Thank you so much for your support. It's going to be a very fun season for the Cowboys. It's a new, talking about disruption, talking about new era. It's a new era in Stillwater, Oklahoma. A beautiful place, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Thank you, Bill G. Thank you, very kind, sir. Appreciate it. All right. We got to get to your phone calls. The monologue went a little bit longer than I had anticipated. I apologize. I got on to rambling. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. It is World Cup Saturday. The Flugar household is getting ready.
From
Christopher Hooter,
Mr. Purple and Gold. This week could be historic, sir. What do you think? Let me know. The floor is yours.
Well, yeah. If there was a nice carve-out middle course position, which I guess is what Congress has always kind of looked for, the NCAA would have already stepped that out because they've been fighting with this for years, and they just said, here, kind of do this. So there's not. The bill will fail. So I think we're going to silos, and I think that's
Yeah.
I think it is written. Okay. I suppose we could all go to silos, and there not necessarily be an immediate expansion. That could all kind of
Yep.
wait 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
But I don't know. I think they spooked everybody, so I suspect they want to jump. And ain't no telling what they'll bring up in a year. Congress, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right. You're right.
it's going to
be
Armageddon.
Yep.
Yep. The caller the other day that brought up the missile crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Except we're not going to walk off the cliff. The missiles are going to fly. There's going to be destruction everywhere, and Lord help us, right? And if you're not in those 2 conferences, you got big problems.
Well, that and let's be honest, we don't know how this is going to work. We do not know if the Southeastern Conference can govern themselves. History would tell us they can't. History would tell us the Big Ten can't. The Big Ten and the SEC could be also in big trouble a few years down the line. Or it may work. I don't know.
Well, but what choice do they have right now?
They're backed into a corner. I agree. They don't have a choice, but that doesn't mean it's automatically going to work. It might not work.
Well, I think you fight the battle that you're in right now. You worry about the next one later, right?
Yeah.
And I do think, I mean, I know I said it silo does not necessarily mean expansion, but
yeah, it does.
People are going to be chomping at the bit to get in.
Yeah.
And I do think it's going to be an ACC scoop from the SEC, and I think ESPN is going to facilitate that.
I agree. I agree.
And now, I'm not sure I love that idea. Historically, we LSU Tigers were on the western edge of the conference.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? And even after the Southwest Conference collapsed and we took Arkansas, we were still kind of on an island of our own, right? I mean, Fayetteville's a long way from Baton Rouge. And so I kind of appreciate the westward expansion. I love the A&M edition. I love the Oklahoma edition and the Texas edition and the Missouri edition. I think that, there's a lot of population growth in those areas. And to just, now, I love the idea of North Carolina, but to just kind of grab schools and states that you've already kind of don't own but dominate, maybe Feinbaum is onto something. Maybe that's not the way to go. So, SMU, who knows, right?
I don't think so, but I really don't think so. But that's Paul Feinbaum said it, so we reported that he said it. But PATC does not agree. But we'll see. We'll see if anybody else brings up SMU.
Well, that was just kind of funny. I'm not really serious about SMU, but so for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 of the last 6 ads were west.
Yeah.
With South Carolina being the exception.
Yes.
So I've like I said, I've liked that westward expansion, right? But this is going to move. This is going to move the center of gravity. I mean, if Clemson comes and if Florida State comes, right, and UNC, and then they have to drag North Carolina State. Well, we're all, Atlanta is the center of the universe again.
Yes.
So, which isn't the end of the world, but like I said, it hasn't been the trend for the last few decades. So.
Yep.
Anyway.
You are correct.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be the end of the world if we took Kansas. I think that would help Missouri.
Yes.
Would certainly help Oklahoma.
I don't think we're going to find out. I think schools like Kansas and Utah and other Big 12 schools, I don't think they're going to be in this next wave of disruption unless the wave of disruption gets paused. Unless the SEC decides to wait a few years and the Big Ten decides to wait a few years. Because with all this disruption, with everything going on in the silos, I think another battle, the battle of the Big 12 gore, I don't think they want to commit to battling. I don't think they want to take on the extra unpredictability. There's going to be enough unpredictability going on. That's my opinion.
And ESPN, kind of owns the ACC. They only partially own the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
So it's not so easy to cut a deal there.
Yeah.
As it is the ACC, where they can probably, easier internally negotiate, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned, North Carolina State, maybe not, or maybe there'll be like a calamony agreement.
Well, there's going to have to be something. Look,
right.
The board, when the rule was, when it was changed in the state of North Carolina, we covered that extensively here. We covered the reasons why the state of North Carolina, they control conference affiliation changes, they control litigation, they control any settlements that these public universities have to make. They took control over that after what they saw happen between California, Berkeley, and UCLA. They saw that the board over there that controls both UCLA and California, they were not proactive. They were trying to be reactive over this change of conference affiliation by UCLA. So the state of North Carolina, they wanted to be proactive. So they put this in there right after that happened. So in my opinion, there is no way that North Carolina Chapel Hill is going to be able to leave the ACC to go to the Southeastern Conference unscathed. I mean, something is going to have to be delivered to North Carolina State. Something is going to have to be delivered to them. At what level that is, I have no idea. We've talked about it. We speculated on it. There's people have been reporting different things to us. We've all put it out there. But about 6 weeks ago, I was told that North Carolina State has never been this powerful before. This has been the most powerful. So whatever that is, whatever that buy-off is, the payment has only increased, not decreased, right? So it ain't like North Carolina State is losing gravity. They're gaining in this thing. So I don't know. I mean, the Calamony or the Carolina Money, however you want to call it, it's going to be probably a pretty decent number for North Carolina State because the Board of Governors doesn't want North Carolina State, that big public university that is over an expansive area, that the population is growing. They don't want that university to be harmed. They don't want that front porch of that university to be devalued. So, Southeastern Conference or Big Ten, because the Big Ten wants North Carolina, you might have to belly up to the bar. You might have to slice off. You might have to give an invitation. I don't know how extreme this is going to get. Go ahead, sir. Well,
you might, right? Well, you got to take us both. Oh, well, maybe we don't want to take you both, right? No, just stay, figure it out on your own, right? Or because that Calamony agreement, it's quote only $10 million or whatever.
Yeah.
But year after year after that's a drag on UCLA.
Yeah, it is.
Don't think that don't matter. That maybe if we're all making $100 million, it's only $10 million. It's still $10 million.
Yeah.
So. You don't want that deal. Maybe you coming up, we'll just give here's $100 million here, go away, right? But you don't want the Calamony deal. If I'm North Carolina, that's my opinion. But I think there's going to be a lot of that going around. It's not just going to be in North Carolina. It could be lots of places.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that could be happening.
All the smaller G5 schools.
Yeah,
they might sue, right?
Yeah,
because they can no longer play their power too to get their money, right? That's payday, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take that off the board, right? LSU's not going to play Louisiana Tech anymore. Sorry, guys. And there'll be a lot of internal state political pressure, right? So,
yeah.
I'll tell you, Anyway, all right. Well, buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up.
You're doing a great job, Greg.
Thank
Enjoying
you,
the
sir.
program, okay?
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Yeah, bye.
Beautiful. We've got a very generous $10 holler from the legend, Ryan Willie, the Evil Badger. The Evil Badger has landed a sharp elbow to the temple of the fat guy from Minnesota. This Evil Badger feels so much better about the Notre Dame versus Wisconsin game because Greg the Freezer said that Notre Dame will be boat raced. Notre Dame will boat race Wisconsin. Notre Dame will not cover the spread. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Ryan Willie has come out fiery. Woo! The Evil Badger is optimistic about his Badgers. The line, I think, is 21 points. Evil Badger says Wisconsin is going to lose less by 21 points. They're going to give up. They're going to battle. They're going to battle with the Irish. The only thing I'm going to say, Ryan Willie, and I love you. You know that I absolutely love you. You're one of the greatest. You are a legend in this channel. But again, I'm just gonna tell everybody this: the Golden Gopher blood runs through me every single day. And when I leave this planet, when I pass away, my soul is still gonna not bleed, but it's gonna have purple and gold run through it. Purple and gold, maroon and gold run through it. So, all I can say is the following. Because maroon and gold runs through me, that means the Badgers are never going to be cheered on by this fat guy from Minnesota. Go Irish, beat Badgers. Go Irish, beat Badgers. Go Irish, beat Badgers. Thank you, Ryan Willie. Thank you for the $10 holler. You better hope that I'm still Greg the Freezer. You better hope I'm still Greg the Freezer. But I don't think so. I don't think so. Marcus Freeman has nice hair. Marcus Freeman has done a hell of a job. Hell of a job. Gopher Tony, Notre Dame wins by 7. ... Touchdowns. Kenneth Maynard, the North Carolina Board of Governors will decide if realignment happens. Morris Simmons, Miami to the Big Ten. All right, guys and gals, I'm going to have to leave us. We've been on the air for 1 hour and 28 minutes. I wish I could do a longer show, but I got things to do before the World Cup match kicks off. I got to do a little bit of shopping. I got to do a little work around the household. I got things I got to do. And plus, I got a couple of emails I got to return talking about college football, chatter behind the curtain. This coming up week could be incredibly historic. They've got to deliver the revised bill, or the time is going to run out. The clock is ticking. You've got to deliver the goods. So it's got to happen this week. If it doesn't happen this week, it's all defeated anyways. And then the real chaos ensues. So buckle up, brace for impact. Make sure you are subscribed and notified going into next week. Ring that notification bell. Follow us at Flood Empire. Sometimes we give you a heads up on when we're coming on next. But we can come on at any time. So keep your head on a swivel. Once that revised bill hits, we are going to cover it live here at Peek Around the Corner. Now, there is one exception to that. Sometime early in mid-afternoon on Tuesday this following week, I am going to be on the road for 4 hours. And then I'm going to come back home. So, if it happens Tuesday in the morning or early afternoon, I'm not going to be able to pop on right away to cover the massive story. You're all going to have to wait until later that Tuesday. But other than that, whenever this thing hits, we are going to be covering it live here at Peek Around the Corner. So, I want to thank you for all your support once again on this beautiful Sunday and a beautiful Saturday this weekend. Mohr After Dark, Yvonne Gully, Larry Andrick, OPD Dunn, Bill G, Eva Badger. Thank you guys for your support. Appreciate it. Appreciate the comments, the phone call. Next week, buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.